Good day, guys. Welcome to today's analysis on synthetic indices. So we're just going to quickly start off with C300. So from the level we marked yesterday, I'm just going to give like a recap of what happened yesterday and our anticipation for today's movements. So yesterday, you remember we had our supply zone here, which we marked as our point of interest. So if you notice, price came and tapped right into that zone. If you drop down to H1, we're looking for a nameable candle in the zone. So what did we have? We started off by having price slowing down momentum right here. Price started slowing down momentum here as we approached the zone here. Then when we go to the zone, we had a nice two doji candles in there. That right there is the sign for you to actually then drop down to M15, look for a pattern, or have one runner or one sell position while you wait for a confirmation. So as soon as we got those two candles, when you drop down to M15, you're looking for a pattern. So what we have here, initially we had the M and they extended the high here. We always talk about this. If you're in the Telegram group and you just type in extended on the search bar, you see most of the times we talk about price extending its own, whether it be the high of the day or the low of the day before it plays out. So from that peak now, you see we have this order block here. So a safe entry would be below this order block, right? So going back to H1, we want to see where we could have entered. So once we have our runner in motion, right here, we open a runner. I think this candlestick closed somewhere here. So as soon as it closed, we open a runner right there. We look for a slight retracement. The safe entry happened in the motion of this bearish engulfing candle. Right, so as it was in motion, safe entry played out. And if you notice, I don't think price retested. Let's see. Yeah, it was a clean sell, clean drop. Let's see on M5 maybe. Yeah, it was a clean drop, no retest whatsoever. So this was the zone, the peak, price breaking, safe entry right there. So sometimes price will come back and retest even twice sometimes before selling. But on this particular example, it was just like a straight drop. So that will be a clean flashcard to use there. So coming into today, what are we looking for, or where is our point of interest? So looking at this reaction, I'm looking again for any possible supply zones which I can use. So you see on this particular move, if we zoom in, these two candles here are like a zone before this particular peak was created. So again, it's the same pattern we are using from a smaller time frame. We just want to use it on a higher time frame. So price can do two things. They can react off the bottom. They can react off this top one only, or they can even come back and challenge this high before they sell. So those are the 3 points of interest I have. We need to have a retracement before we engage into this trade. So that will be 34.86 for the first zone, 34.86. Then for this zone, it will be 3536. Then for the ultimate high here, it will be, I'll just round it up to 3700 because this one is near a whole number. So it should be something like this. So these are the 3 points of interest which we have based on the 4-hour time frame. And we are still leaning on a sell bias coming all the way to 2900 area. Right, that's our target there. So let me also just round this up to 2900. We can potentially get to those levels long term. So dropping to H1, you will see that these zones we have, it's based off this area here on H1, right? So in that same area, we also have this supply zone on H1, or for me, I see it as a supply zone. We also have this supply zone. We also have this supply zone and this supply zone. So these are all areas where price can get to then react. So if we get a retracement into the first zone, we look for a nameable candle, which can potentially be dojis or a morning star, sorry, an evening star candle. Then we can look for sells, or they can come create that pattern here, here, or here. So those are all points of interest which we have. So if you mark your charts on H1, I think these zones will become a bit clear, and all we have to do is wait. By looking at it from where price started selling, we've just had like a huge sell momentum. So we just want to keep an eye on how they want to retrace, because price can also still just continue on pushing down. If it does that, then we won't have any entry. So that's my personal view for C300. Going to C5. We also spoke of C5 yesterday. We were looking at price to retrace up here, and the safe entry was below the zone which we marked out. And if you notice, price did exactly that. They came down and they retested with a nice pin bar. Again, look for nameable candle. A nameable candle is a candlestick which you can name. So if you don't know about candlesticks, just go through the Candlestick Trading Bible, one of the best books I can recommend. We also have a few videos up here on our channel which you can actually watch, as I was just trying to explain it based on my own understanding. So if we drop down to M15 just to see how the candles were looking or where the entry would have been, you will notice that we allowed price to drop. I think when we had the Zoom, price was somewhere here, and we were anticipating them to come back either here, here, or wait for them to break, showing us that they want to come down. And like I say, sometimes they'll break and continue. Sometimes they'll break and they'll retest. So there is a nameable candle there, followed by a nice movement to the downside. Then we broke the previous day's low and we retested with a nice bearish engulfing. So all those areas were possible areas where we could actually have sold from. I can see there's a guy in the Zoom, but I don't think he can hear me. Let me just try to chat with him quickly. Yeah, I just sent him a message. All right, so that was the two entries which we had. Second entry was right there. So everywhere you see these arrows, that's where we could have safely entered. So going into today, what are we looking at? I'm looking at a possible continuation to the downside on this particular trade or on this particular asset. Let's see. We broke a structure here. We could potentially retest here or retest at the top. Okay, so let me just remove these arrows here. Remove this. Okay, this zone we used yesterday, price can still bounce off it today, but what they can potentially do now is they can extend today's highs. So this is currently today's high price, right? So they can extend it by coming into this fair value gap here. We agree this is a fair value gap. We also agree we have an 800 moving average here, which is a dynamic resistance zone from a higher time frame. So either they'll extend to here, then sell off, or they'll actually extend as high as this area and sell off. So anyway, from this area to this area, if we can get a pattern forming in this area, then we can look for potential sells. But I also want to pay attention to price if they do come up and close above this area here. So let me just use the color green. So if price comes up here and we start closing above here, having like bullish candles like these, it could mean that this price is extending all the way to the 800, and they can even come as high as yesterday's high. So we should actually wait for we should wait for another pattern to form somewhere around this area. Right? But if we get nice rejections on this area, same thing. We'll just simply look for our pattern. We'll drop down to M15, allow price to tap into this area, look for our order block on the left-hand side, then look for a safe entry for a sell to the downside. So that's how I'm viewing C500 today. So I'll just put a red line here just to demarcate the current high. So we also want to use that as a guideline. If price extends that high and comes here, once it comes below this high here, then we are selling already. Even before it confirms a safe sell, we can still actually be active on that trade. But let's just wait and see how this price plays out. I'll leave this chart on the H1. So going to C1000, I noticed C1000 is already in motion. And again, let's see if I can explain this setup. We are currently trading on the 13 EMA on the daily. So this price action can be a bit tricky right here because there'll be a lot of trap moves. At the same time, I want the range of this daily candle here. One to the day before yesterday. I just want to see the highs of that day because we are still trading within that range. So the highs of the day before yesterday, we marked the candlestick weak range and the highest body close. So I'm just going to shade this one so that we don't confuse ourselves. Okay, then on the bottom side, same thing. We want to mark the lows of that particular day. Okay, it's looking something like this. So this is our price range for today. That's what we're working with. So if you notice yesterday, again, price sort of ended up respecting this area, but they failed to come below the zone. Came back, respected this order block. So that could have been a sell, just coming back to this zone again as a take profit. Even though they closed below this zone we had, I remember, I think we mentioned we were going to look for sells. Even though they closed, there was no follow through, no retest. So if you had entered a runner, then your stop loss will just be above here. Then you can minimize your loss. So remember, it's not all price action which will play out. Sometimes price takes us out. So looking at today, like I said, we are trading within the range. I feel like the move is already in motion, and this move might be aiming for yesterday's lows right there before they buy. So where can we sell from? Where can we sell from? We want to look for sales, but we want to be careful because we're still trading within the range. That's the trade idea. So let me just go back to H1. So this candle here, which created the peak. So the peak is just the highest part of the day. So that candle, I want to mark its low, and that low for me is a point of interest. If we drop down to M15, you see that we've got an order block right there. There is the order block there. We also have a broken breaker block here. This is where the first sell happened. So we broke the highest points, broke the order block and retested. So you could have entered at the close of this candle. If you're confident enough with the strategy, you could have entered a runner here. And as this price starts coming down, this is where you scale in, and price dropped. It's actually had a retest, continue to drop, but I still feel price can still come back as high as that zone and give us a short-term sell for now until we break these zones on the bottom here. So the possible trade here could play out about 40 pips. If we can get 40 pips from this trade, that'll be cool. So the point of interest is just above the, let's see, maybe if there's something on H4. So, all right, what do we have on H4? H4, we've got a double top. We've got an M, whatever you want to call it. We've got structures broken, price showing it wants to come down again, structure broken. Here I thought they would get in here. I think I mentioned this yesterday, is this being a high probability supply zone, but price didn't get into that area, and we are having these 50 EMA rejections. So we are leaning on a sell. We have that sell bias based on the structure which is forming here. But at the same time, the supply zone for me is still valid. So anyone who's selling and holding, I know people start putting stop losses here for swing traders, right? But usually price sometimes what they do is they will come up and take out these highs, just have a quick random move which is green, and they will induce buyers, right? Soon as buyers are induced, you see then price will accelerate to the downside, leaving both the initial sellers and the buyers who joined in, both of them will be frustrated. So that's just based on seeing price play out and big testing. But again, they can still just drop here and do this. That's also possible. So for now, if we get a retracement here and this level holds, we're going to take a short-term sell. And we have to wait for price to get out of this range. That's when we'll get the best setups. Even for now, you can see the 4-hour candles. We've got a lot of wicks. Price is going on both sides. So you just also want to be careful with this particular setup. So going back to M15 again, the best point of interest will be around 62.46, 62.46, 62.45. So you can start having your one position at 62.45 a sell. Stop loss goes above the 800 EMA or around 62.63. Then we wait to see if the zone holds. Once they start rejecting and showing momentum, then we can scale in and target 30 to 40 pips. So that's it for this particular trade. Going to B5. I'm not sure how I spoke about B5 yesterday, but we didn't have anything solid on it yet, I remember. But during the day when I was looking at it, I noticed that price came, reacted to the previous day's lows first. They came up, they bounced off this area. So I think when I came to the charts, they were here. Right. And I was like, okay, what could possibly happen is now price can potentially retest into this high. So you can see I put a zone here, then I went off the charts. This trade, I didn't catch it, I didn't take it. Then I also marked this zone because in case they were going down, I wanted to see price rejecting this area and then starting to push down. But if you notice what happened is there was an inverse reaction to what I was anticipating. So I was anticipating them to reject and go down. But what they did is they broke and retested. So, and they continued just pushing up. And the other reason I say B5 is always frustrating, you can see with each up move, there's almost an equal, like 80% retracement to that move. We go, let's say you buy here, or you buy here, it goes up, it comes back down all the way near your entry again. Let's say you buy here. So this is the main reason. If you follow me and my trades, you know that B5 is just frustrating to trade. It requires more patience. It requires more patience. But overall, the setup played out because you can see they tapped right into the zone. M15 TDI, we're trading above the yellow baseline. We're somewhere here, bouncing off the 50 static, more confirmations, candles rejecting the 13 EMA all the way up. So right now, as much as we might want to continue buying, I feel like let's rather wait for price to pull back. Maybe they'll give us a sort of a flip zone here. If we can get a W pattern, then we can look for a pattern there and we can buy. So my points of interest would be right on the previous day's high. If you notice, there is an order block which has been retested, and that price which retested that order block also left this order block here. So I'm going to unshade this one. Okay, so I'm anticipating price to come and give a reaction anyway in here. So we've got an order block. We've got a flip zone, which is the previous day's high, yesterday's highs. We've got the 50 EMA, and we've got the TDI. From here, it's been trading above the 50 static. So that sort of gives us confluences to have a bias to actually buy. So what we need is a nameable candle rejecting. We also need TDI confirming by bouncing off the 50 static at least, and possibly get like a W pattern and another pattern there within whatever we're seeing now. Then we can confidently buy that one. And I also remember we spoke about getting a long-term buy of some sort, and I mentioned this area is where price could potentially retrace to. So that was yesterday and how the daily candle was looking. So for today, I'm still anticipating buys to go all the way up to these highs. But again, this point remains valid, and we're going to use it in the future should price come down to this area. So that's the daily view. But currently, we've got a nice rejection of the 13 EMA, and I have that buying bias for today on B500. So going to B1000 sort of frustrated me yesterday again. So what happened is I remember we took a trade during the Zoom, right? But if you watched our session after we posted, then I'm sure you caught the perfect trade. So when we were in the Zoom, price came above this area, but I want you to notice something quickly. H1 did not close above the zone, right? But what I did is I was too early with my trade. Even though it was a runner still, you can see I got a close on M15. That was my reasoning for my buy here. So I was in this trade with a runner. But what I also didn't calculate at the moment was like this move just from this area to this area, it was almost 100 pips. So we can say from just this candle to here, it was 88 pips. So after 88 pips, I should have calculated, at least I should have ran a fib, right? I should have ran a fib. Did I put it correct? This. Yeah, I should have ran a fib, right? By running a fib, then I should have entered my buy here. My first buy would have come here. So instead of opening a buy here, I would have saved myself 40 to 50 pips of loss, right? Entering here now would have allowed me to at least hold to around this area where I had also marked a zone. So if you see this arrow, it shows you where I traded. So I use it like now when I'm back testing and noticing my mistakes. So this is something which you should also take note of. Like if we have a big move, at least calculate half of that move, right? Once you figure out half, that's where you put your first runner. Then you wait for price to confirm. So soon as they confirm, then you can comfortably buy. So the confirmation here should have come either at this candle or at this candle when H1 eventually closed above our zone. Because on H1, this close was a weak, still closed below, but at some point they then closed above. So even if we had entered here, this would have been a nice trade to actually take to the close of the day because there was a lot of pips to be made there. So just take note of this and use it on your future trades as a lesson. So whatever I do as mistakes and I pointed out, you guys should make sure you actually take note of it so that you don't repeat the same mistakes that I do. So that will actually save you a lot of capital. So that was yesterday's trade on B1. Coming into today, What do we have? What do we have? Okay. I don't want to buy much into the buying bias I've been mentioning, seeing that we've been bearish for the past couple of days. I'm still looking forward for price to come and take out this liquidity before we can get a buy, maybe to break all these supply zones and actually still come up here. So this is just an anticipation. It's not something which will happen, but it could happen. So going to H4, you see that I put this supply zone here, right? And I put this, these are zones where we price can sell from since it's a downtrend, right? But here you can see we broke above, even though we came below. That's sort of showing me a sign that this price can just come take out this liquidity, which is yesterday's lows, take out this liquidity from the week before last, right? Give us a pattern on TDI here by bouncing off the 32 level. So that will be this low getting extended. Then we'll actually get some momentum coming up to the upside. So I'm not sure how high it will go if it does play out that way, but we can always start targeting the same demand zones. If we break here, then we come here. If we break here, then we come here. If we break here, then we come here. Something like that. That's just an overview. So we're saying if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, then this happens. That's just it. So if price does something else, then we'll definitely be updating our setups since we do daily analysis. So looking at H1, also, let's see. We might get a baseline bounce here. We've got potential demand zone here. So again, they can respect just this area here. Why this area? Because this is a level where price hits, then broke, retested, pushed up. So they can still retest right here and push up. Get it? So we just want to watch and see if H1 gives us a reaction. So just use H1 as your what do I say, time frame of reversal reference. So H1 sort of gives nice reversal candles. Like here, we had got the reversal correct. It's just that the entry and trade management was wrong. But those who watched the video a bit later should have noticed this level and they could have still bought a nice buy here. And it was actually a good trade because they came all the way up to this high. So again, today, like I said, we wait for H1 to give us a nameable candle, which is showing us a rejection so that we can buy. If they don't give us one, price will simply continue going down. Like we said, they will come take out liquidity from yesterday and potentially this one from the week before last, before they give us any form of buys. But we'll keep stalking and see if we can get something to use. J10, I remember I mentioned we're just looking at the daily candles to see how the previous day closes. So if you notice, we close within the zone. So I'm just going to make it, I'm just going to unshade it so that I can see the candles. Right, so this rejection candle here from yesterday on the daily was not green. Because of that, I don't really want to be keen on buys because this price can actually continue pushing down. This can be a rejection to these moving averages you see here, and price can still push down. So I don't want to commit much on a buy, but I'm going to use yesterday's highs and yesterday's lows as a guideline. So that's my range, like we did with that other asset. So what I'm waiting for is to see if I can get a reaction here or to see if I can get a reaction here before I participate. Right now, within this range, I do not have a trade unless, again, we create a peak here by extending today's highs. Then we get a pattern from a smaller time frame. Then I can consider a sell going back down here. But I would prefer not to trade here until price gets to the outskirts of yesterday's range or until price gets to the outskirts of yesterday's highs or the outskirts of yesterday's lows. That's where I'll look for a trade. So if we break here, we look for sells. If we bounce, we look for buys. If we bounce here, we look for sells. If we break, we look for buys. So we're just keeping it as simple as that. Then looking at V2501S, what I noticed is they didn't give me a clean pattern for me to execute, right? So this was yesterday's highs. I'm just going to mark them and try to explain as best as I can. So you can see this zone, I marked this as a point of interest. We're looking for a possible retracement and a sell. But what you notice on this particular setup, they didn't come there, neither they come to extend the high. So let's see how it was looking like on M15. Okay, so this trade was going to be a bit hard to catch